Chapter 1 Family. I was born in England in 1632. My father was German and my mother was English. I had two brothers and one sister. We were a good family. My father was a good businessman. We had a lot of money. I had good education. I had a good life. But I also had a dream. I wanted to travel by sea. I wanted to see the world. My father was a good man. He wanted the best for me. But my dream was not his dream. He was not happy. The situation was not easy. I was 18 years old when my father called me to his room. He wanted to speak with me. When I came to his room, my father asked me some questions. My father wanted to know why I wanted to travel by sea. Then my father told me traveling by sea is dangerous. It, it is not comfortable. You can die. My father started to cry. I thought about my father's word. Traveling by sea was dangerous. It was not comfortable. I could die. But it was also very exciting. I could see new countries. I could meet new people. I thought about traveling by sea every day. It was difficult to be at home. I tried to speak with my mother. I told her I would like to travel by sea very much. I wanted to see the world. I told her, please help me speak with my father. Maybe with your help I could travel by sea. My mother loved me very much, but uh, life thought the same as my father. She thought that traveling by sea. She thought that the best was to stay at home. She thought that life in England was the best for me. Once a year later, I visited Hull, a town in England. It was the 1st of September. It was the year 1651. I met my friend. His father had a ship. They traveled by sea very often. Their next journey was to London. My friend, told me. I thought about it. It was not prepared for this journey, but I could try if traveling by sea was for me. So I went to London. I was very happy. It was my first journey by sea. It was very exciting. The first hour was great, but then we started to have problems. We saw a storm. It was closer and closer. The wind was stronger and stronger. The waves were bigger and bigger. The ship went up and down. I had fear. I thought about my home. I thought about my comfort bed. The storm was finished in the morning. The weather was nice the whole day. And the evening was beautiful. Everything was so quiet. One man came to me. We talked. He made some jokes. They were funny. He asked me about the weather. I told him about my fear during the storm. What storm? He said. The little wind. He laughed. He offered me a drink. I drank a lot. Soon I was drunk. I slept very well at night. The next day I forgot about my home. I forgot about my comfortable bed. I started to dream more about traveling by sea. The next 3 days the wind was not good. We went very slowly. Then the wind was stronger. We went faster. The next day another storm came. The storm was bigger. I was really scared. I saw that the other men were scared too. Chapter 2 Storm. I was so scared that I could only lie in my bed. When I looked outside the window, I saw the waves. They were very big. They were like mountains. I saw other ships. They were like toys. The waves played with the ships. I wanted to go home again. The storm was really big. Everybody asked good God for help. Then somebody saw a hole in the ship. A lot of water was inside. It was a terrible situation. Many men went down. They pumped the water out. I was so scared. I could not move. But then one man came to me. He told me, "Go down and help." So I went down. We pumped the water out. Then I heard a gun. It was a signal from our captain. It was a signal that we had a big problem. I thought that we had no chance. Our ship was very broken. I thought that it was our last day. We worked very hard. We tried to pump out the water, but the hole was very big. More and more water was inside the ship. The weather was better, but the ship was full of water. We needed help. We saw another ship in front of us. They sent a small boat for us. The men on the boat risked their lives for us. We all went on the boat. It was not possible to go back to their ship. It was already very far. 15 minutes later, our big ship went under water. We were safe on the small boat. But I was still very scared. We saw a land. We tried to go for it. We were closer and closer. Soon we saw people on the beach. They were from a near village. They waited for us. They were really nice to us. They helped us. They gave us some money. We could go to London or Hull. I went to London. I traveled to London by land. When I was in London, I met a captain. He was very kind. He offered me travel with him. The captain wanted to go to Africa. I thought that I could make some money there. The captain told me about the business in Africa. He told me what to buy in England. He told me what people in Africa needed. I bought things which were popular in Africa. They were cheap in England, but they were expensive in Africa. They were expensive because nobody made them in Africa. But people needed them there. Then we started the journey. The journey to Africa was successful. I returned to England with some money. I was happy. I wanted to travel more. I wanted to do more business. I also wanted to learn how to control the ship. The captain taught me the basic skill. I decided to go to Africa again. The journey started well, but soon we had big problem. The ship started to follow us. It was a pirate ship. It started in the morning. In the afternoon, the pirates came very close to us. They attacked us. They tried to correct our ship. We pushed them away. Then they attacked us again. This time, they were successful. Many men came on our ship during the second attack. They started to break everything. Some of our men were killed. Some men were injured. We could not win. We stopped the fight. We all became prisoners of the pirates. Chapter 3. Women. I was young and strong. I became a slave to captain of the pirates. I felt very sad. Slaves had a terrible, horrible life. They had to work hard. I worked every day for many hours. I worked in the house or in the garden. The captain told me what to do. I did not like the work. I wanted to change my situation. I wanted to be free again. One day I met a young woman in the house. She was so beautiful. She was also a slave. She cleaned the house. I tried to speak to her. She did not speak my language, but I felt that she understood me. I liked her very much. She was very attractive when she saw me. She smiled at me. Sometimes she touched me when she was close to me, but it was only a short moment. If the captain saw it, he could send her away. I thought about her very often. I wanted to meet her every day, but she was not in the house every day. When I thought about her, I felt a nice feeling in my heart. I thought that I loved the woman. I felt that she was my girlfriend, I was her boyfriend. But our relationship was complicated. We could not be officially together. Slaves could not have relationships. It was so sad. The captain sometimes took me with him when he wanted to catch some fish. A young boy and I helped him fish. We used a small boat. Sometimes we fished with somebody from his friends. One day, fog was around our boat. We saw nothing. We were lost. We tried to get to land the whole day and night. We got to land the next morning. When we were back home, the captain told us to use a bigger boat. The bigger boat was better for longer journey. One day, the captain gave me instruction: put more food and drinks on the boat. Bring some guns too. He waited for important guests. He wanted to catch fish with the guests. They also wanted to hunt animals after the fishing. But the guest never came. Then the captain told me prepare the boat for fishing for the next day. This was my opportunity to run away. A lot of guns and food were on the boat. I prepared the boat for fishing as usual. But I left the guns and food on the boat. The next day I could run away. This was my plan. This was I thought about the young woman. I wanted to take her with me, but I did not know how to do it. It was not possible to take her on the boat. I was sad. I did not know what to do. I wanted to be free, but my heart wanted to be with her. Then the morning came. I hoped that I could see the young woman in the house. Then I saw her. She was most beautiful woman in my life. When I looked at her, our eyes met. She knew that something was different. Maybe she understood that this was our last moment together. She looked deeply in my eyes. She touched my hand. I felt that she understood. Her face was sad. My face was sad too. She smiled at me a little, then she away. This was the last moment when I saw her. 1 hour later, we were steady. I and the boy went to the boat. One of the captain friends went with us. He was our boss for that day. Chapter 4 Loin. Soon we were far from the land. I pretended that I could not catch fish. Then we went further from the land. Our boss said that we could catch fish there. At one moment, our boss went to the front of the boat. I quickly pushed him into the sea. He tried to swim back. I took a gun. When he saw the gun, he swam away. After he swam away, I turned to the boy. I wanted to know if he was on my side. I saw that he was on my side. After 2 years, I was finally free. We tried to go as fast as possible. The wind was good. We were far from the pirate land the next day, but I was still scared of the pirates. I did not want to be caught again. I was so scared that I did not let the boy stop the boat for 5 days. On the sixth day, I felt safer. We took the boat close to the land. We saw a little river. I did not know where we were. We had to stop somewhere because we needed fresh water. We waited for the dark. We wanted to go up the river where the water was not mixed with the seawater. But we started to hear horrible noise. The boy did not want to continue. He was scared. We stayed in the boat near the river, but we could not sleep. Some animals came to wash in the water. They made horrible noises. The boy was very scared. I was also scared. We heard that one animal started to swim to us. The boy asked me to go away, but I did not want to go. I took one gun. I shot at the animal. The animal turned. Then the animal swam into the land. The other animals heard the gun. They went away too. We stayed on the boat until the morning. We, we ate bread in the morning. Then the boy said I would like to go to the beach. I decided to go with him. We had two big bottles for water. We took some fresh water from the river. The boy wanted to go inside the land. I did not want to go very far. I still wanted to see the boat. So I stayed on the beach. The boy went inside the land alone. He turned after some times. He had an animal in his land. He took like a chicken. He was very happy. I was happy too. I did not know where we were. I only knew that we went around the coast of Africa. I hope that we met an English ship when we went around the coast. I thought that we were in a land where nobody lived. We did not see any people on the land. We only heard and wild animals sometimes. One morning, when we went for fresh water, we saw a lion on the beach. He was very big. He was only 20 meters from us. The boy was scared. When the lion saw us, he started to run to us. We did not have much time. I had to shoot at him. I had three guns. The first bullet hit its leg. The second bullet hit its head. He was seriously injured. The third bullet finished the animal. If we could not eat the meat because it was not good, but I wanted to take the skin. We put the skin on the top of the boat. The skin was dry soon. Chapter 5th, Ship. For the next 10 days, we continue our journey around the coast. We will only stop when we needed fresh water. Soon we saw that people lived on the land. When one day we saw a big group of people, they had a lot of children. They watched us from the beach. I wanted to stop. I wanted to go to the people, but the boy did not like this idea, know how to get the food. The people saw this. They put the food on the ground. Then they went back. When they were far from the food, we took the food. Then we were not scared of the people. They came to us. We thanked them, but we had nothing for them. At that moment, we saw two animals then came from the forest. The animals started to run to the people. The people were scared. One animal attacked a young girl. I shot at the animal. I killed the animal. The second animal was scared. It ran away. The people were shocked when they heard the gun. They were also shocked when they saw that the animal was dead. They were happy that the girl was alive. They thanked us. They bought us more food and water. We had a lot of food and water on the boat. We did not stop for 10 days. We saw some Iceland. The next day, I thought that we could visit the Iceland. But at the moment, the boy started to shout. He started to shout because he saw a ship. The boy was really scared. He thought that it was a pirate ship. But I looked at the ship. I saw that it was Portuguese. But nobody on the ship saw us. So I fired a gun. They heard the gun. They saw us. Soon we were on the Portuguese ship. They spoke Portuguese, Spanish, and French, but I did not understand them. Fortunately, there was a Scottish sailor on the ship. He came to me. I told him our story. Then the sailor started to be very nice to us. They agreed to take me and the boy on the ship. We were both very happy. We offered our things to the captain, but he did not want to take our things. He said I would like to pay for them. It was very nice of him. I told him that the could buy our boat. I gave him a good price. It was a half of usual price. He could take the rest for free. The captain agreed. The captain also wanted to train the boy as a sailor. I did not like the idea. I thought that he was too young for this job. I thought that the boy also needed freedom. He did not need to start another service. Chapter 6. Wife. The boy wanted to work for the captain. He wanted to be a sailor, so he started his training to become sailor. The ship was on the way to Brazil. We arrived there after 22 days. I said goodbye to the boy and the sailors. Brazil was a new state in South America. Many people started a new life there. It was the same for me. I did not know anybody there. Soon I met people who had sugar plantation. They became my friend. I liked Brazil very much. Soon I learned the language. I had some money from the captain. I bought some small land in Brazil. I started to produce sugar. I did not produce much for the first 2 years. But then my plantation grew fast. I was single, but my life was good. I was independent. My financial situation was better every month. We paid only small taxes in Brazil. The society was new. We did not have many rules from the government. Soon I had enough money. I could hire a lady for cleaning my house. I asked my friend if they knew about any good woman. One of my friends said, I have a daughter who is 18 years old. I think that she could work for you. She is also a very good cook. The next day, his daughter came to my house. She was friendly but a little shy. She was also a very pretty girl. We talked shortly. I told her what I needed. The next day, she came to my house. She cleaned the dirty floor and my furniture. She took out the rubbish. She came to my house every morning on Monday and on Thursday. She stayed in my house for 4 hours. She cleaned the house. She also cooked for me. She gave food to my cat too. I was always happy to see the girl. Sometimes we had breakfast or lunch together and we talked. Then she was ill for 1 week. She could not come to my house. I felt a strange feeling when she was not in my house. I really missed her. I thought maybe I loved her. 1 week later, she came to my house. I was really happy to see her. I saw that she was happy too. I hugged her. Then I kissed her. It was a long kiss. 2 weeks later, I went to her father's house. I asked him if I could marry his daughter. He was quite. I waited for his reaction. Then said, I agree. I was the happiest man in the world. 2 months later, I married the daughter of my friend. We started to plan a family. This period of my life was great. We had a big plans for our family and our plantation. We needed a bigger house. We needed more money for bigger house. I thought about the business in Africa. I could make a lot of money in Africa quickly. I spoke about Africa with my friends. Some of my friends like this idea. Chapter 7, Hurricane. One day, three of my friends came to our house. They told me that they wanted to go to Africa. They asked me if I wanted to go with them. I said, yes, I want to go with you. We started to prepare all the necessary things for journey. Soon we were ready to go. I said goodbye to my wife. Then we started to our journey. Our plan was to be back in 2 months. We left Brazil on the 1st of September 1655. Our ship was very big, but we were only 17 men. The ship was full of things for business. We had cups, glass, mirror, knives, and other products. The weather was good but very hot at the beginning of our journey. A hurricane came 1 week later. The hurricane was extremely strong. Our ship was in danger. When the hurricane was away, we saw that we were close to the northern part of South America. We were near the Orinoco River. This was not part of our plan. The ship was broken. We could not go to Africa. The captain wanted to go back and repair the ships. But I did not want to go back. We talked about it. We decided to go to Barbados. We wanted to repair the ship there. Before we got to Barbados, a second hurricane came in the evening. The wind was very strong. The waves was very big. Then one man shouted, "Land!" When the man shouted, "Land!" the ship stopped. The sea was not deep enough. It was bad for our broken ship. The ship could not break every second. We had to go on a smaller boat. This was very dangerous. The boat was very small for 17 men, but we had to do it if we wanted to save our lives, so we were on a smaller boat. The waves were very big. The wind was extremely strong. The wind pushed us to big rocks. We knew that the crash was close. Suddenly, a big wave came. The wave overturned the boat. I was underwater. I could not breathe. I did not see the other man. I did not see the boat. Then my head was above water. It was only a short moment, but I could breathe. I saw a little beach between the rocks. A big wave pushed me to the beach. I was still in water, but I felt a land under my feet. I knew that I had to stand up. I had to get out of the water before another wave came, but my body was weak. I could not stand up fast. When another wave came, I was under the water. I could not breathe for a while, but then another wave threw me back on the beach. I tried to get up. I tried to go further from the sea. I was able to move 10 meters up. I was safe, but my arms and legs were very weak. I collapsed. I did not move for some time. After some time, I was able to get up. I looked for the other. I could not find the other man. Chapter 8, Iceland. I was probably the only person alive. All my friends were dead. I only found three hats and two shoes on the beach. It was horrible for me. The weather was still very bad, but the waves were not so big. I saw the ship was for. I looked around. I had almost nothing. I was wet. I had no other clothes. I had nothing to eat or drink. I had no good weapons. I had only a little knife which I found in my pocket. The situation was really bad. How could I survive with only a little knife? First, I tried to find some fresh water. I found a small river. I drank the water. I was scared of dangerous animals. I made a weapon from a piece of wood. I spent the night in a large tree. When I woke up the next morning, the sea was calm. I could not still see the ship. I needed to get some things from the ship. I took off my clothes. I swam to the ship. I did not see a way inside the big ship. I swam around it twice. Then I saw a rope on one side of the ship. I used the rope to get up. The ship was empty. I tried to find some food. I was lucky. Some food on the ship was dry. I also found a bottle of rum. I took the bottle with me. Then I heard something. Somebody was on the ship. Who was it? Somebody from my friends. It was not possible. My friends were all dead. I was a little scared. I went to the place where I heard the noise. Then I saw who it was. It was dog. It was a dog of our captain. Now I had a friend. I was not alone. I had to carry the food, rum, and the dog to the beach, but I did not have a small boat on the ship. I had to make a raft. I found some wood. I made a raft from the wood. I also needed some cloths. I started to look for the cloths. I found some. I had to carry the food. When I looked for the cloth, I found a box with some tools. I found a nice carpet next to the box. I also found four guns and dry gunpowder. I put everything on my raft. The sea was calm. The wind went to the land. Thus, this was all good. When I looked for clothes, I found a box with some tools. I found a nice expert. Soon I was on the beach. I started to look for a place where I could stay. I saw a hill. I thought that from the hill I could see where I was. I took a gun and I started to walk to the hill. I got to the top. I saw sea around the whole place. I was on an island. I saw two small islands here. One was to the north, one was to the west. I also saw a big land to the south. It was about 100 kilometers far. I saw nothing to the east. I saw only the ocean. I did not see any sign of people on the island. I saw only wild animals. Chapter 9, Tent. I saw many birds on the way back from the hill, but I didn't know their names. I didn't know if I could eat their meat. I killed one bird, but its meat was not good. I went back to the raft. I moved my things further inside the land. I wanted to go back to ship again the next day. I wanted to move all the useful things to the island. The next storm could destroy the ship completely. I made a small tent near the beach. I brought all the things which could be destroyed by rain or sun inside the tent. The night was close. I put some cloths on ground. I wanted to sleep on the cloths. I also put two guns next to my left shoulder. I also put two guns next to my right shoulder. I had many guns around me now. I felt safe. I was tired from all the work. I fell asleep very soon. I swam back to the ship the next day. I saw I made a second raft. I put my many things on it. I was especially happy with 7 new guns and some beds. I took all these things safely to the beach. I went to the ship the next day. Again, I brought back many useful tools and other objects. For example, I found a lot of candles. I needed candles on the island. I also found 2 boxes big of tea. I made a lot of visits to the ship. One day I discovered a box which was closed. I found a key under the box. When I opened the box, I saw some coins from Europe and Brazil. Money it was not useful on the island, but I still took the money with me. I also found playing cards with picture. They were picture of the king, the queen and other people. I could play some games. I could have some fun with the cards. The next day the big dark clouds were in the sky. They were bigger and bigger. The wind was stronger and stronger. I visited the ship, but I didn't make a raft on that day because a storm was close. A raft could break easily in a storm. I swam back to the beach. The wind was really strong that night. Fortunately, I was safe inside my little tent. The ship was gone the next morning. I knew that I could stay on the island for a long time. I wanted to make a nice place for me to live. I also needed to be safe. I could look for a cave, or I could make a bigger tent. Maybe I could do both. I needed a place where was close to fresh water. The place had to be in the wind shadow. The place also needed to be easy to protect. I also needed a view of the sea. I wanted to be able to see ship. I found a nice place next to a big hill. I decided to put my tent there. The hill protected me from one side. I built a fence on all the other sides. There was no door in the fence. I used a ladder when I wanted to go over the fence. I took all my things inside. I had more plans in my head. I made 2 tents. One tent was big, the second tent was small. The smaller tent was inside the bigger tent. Chapter 10 Calendar. The bigger tent protected the gunpowder and food from rains. I lived in the small tent. When the tent were finished, I started to dig to a cave at the bottom of the hill. I wanted to use the cave for food. I brought stones and earth from the cave to the fence. I made a terrace on the inside of the fence. I still worked on the cave. When a storm came from one day, there was some lightning during the storm. I thought that the explosion could destroy everything. It could even kill me. I was scared. I needed to make a change as soon as possible. After the storm was gone, I opened the boxes with the gunpowder. I put the gunpowder into small boxes and bags. I hid the boxes and bags in the rocks. I had a lot of gunpowder, so this took me 3 days. I also hunted every day. It was a break from the hard work, and I also needed some meat. Thanks to this, I also started to know the island and the animals more. I discovered some goats. I hunted the goats, then I had enough meat. I was sad sometimes. I thought about my life. I missed her a lot. I thought about my friends in Brazil. I thought about my parents. I thought that living on this island alone was without meaning. I knew that traveling by sea could change your life completely. It could be great, but it could be horrible too. I knew that my friends from the ship were dead. I knew that I was the only person alive. I was lucky to be alive. I was also lucky because I had all the things like food, guns, and clothes. I could not survive without these things. I decided to make a big cross. I put it on the beach. It was near the place of my arrival to the island. I wrote on it the date of my arrival. It was the 30th of September 16859. I wanted to keep information about time. The cross was my calendar. I made a small cut in the cross every day. The seventh cut was longer. It marked the end of the week. The beginning of each month was also a longer cut. One day I thought about my situation. I had negative thoughts. This was not good. I decided to make a list of all the good and bad things in my life. I was alone on this island. I had nobody for a conversation. I had only a little chance that I could see England again. But I was alive. I was safe. I had my freedom. I had food to eat. This was all positive. I did not have any good clothes, but I did not need a lot of clothes on this island. I had a dog. He understood some words. He understood when I said, "Sit down, come here, bring it, don't do it, don't jump, let's do it, let's eat, let's run." These lists showed me that my situation was not perfect, but I had also some good things in my life. I tried to concentrate on positive things only. I continued to make my place better and better. I made the cave bigger. More space in the cave helped me keep all my things organized. Chapter 11 Book. I started to make some furniture. I needed a chair and table. I used the wood from my rafts and the ship. It took me 5 days to make a chair and a table. Next, I made shelves inside the cave and I put my tools on the shelves. I put my clothes and guns in the cave too. My guns were on the walls too. I was very pleased when my work was finished. Everything was well organized. I could easily find what I needed. I decided to write a book about my life on the island. I described my days in the book. I started with my first day on the island. I wrote everything what I remembered. I also wrote what I thought it was good for me. When I put my thoughts on paper, I wrote one page every day at the beginning. But when I got the present, I wrote only one page every week. I wrote only important events. After some times, my days on the island started to be similar, but they were never boring. I had always something to do. Every morning I worked for a few hours. Then I worked until noon. I had lunch. Then I slept after lunch for 2 hours. Then I continued my work until the evening. I made my cave bigger with the tools which I had. I wanted to have a big cave. The cave was my kitchen, living room, a cellar, and sometimes a bedroom all in one. When the cave was almost done, a lot of earth fell down from one side. I was not in the cave when it happened. I was lucky. If a lot of earth fell on me, I could die. First, I had to clean the cave. Then I decided to put long boards on the sides and also on the ceiling. I did not want the accident to happen again. This work took about 1 week. In December, I continued to work in my small camp. The weather was not very good for 20 days. It rained day and night, but it was still warm. So I worked inside. It was never cold on the island. It was good for me. At the end of December, I killed a goat. I also hurt another goat. Its leg was broken. The goat could not walk. I took the goat home. I looked after it. After 2 weeks, the goat was not scared. It could eat from my hand. I started to think, also keeping animals, I could have food when my gunpowder was finished. In January, I traveled through the Iceland. I found more goats in the center of the Iceland. The animal was very shy. It was difficult to get close to the goats. I wanted to try to domesticate some goats. I only needed an opportunity to do it. I had a plan. I returned with my dog the next day. He was my hunting partner. I told my dog, sit down, wait, don't move. Then I went around the goats, but in a big distance. Chapter 12. Corn. When the goats were between me and my dog, I hid behind a tree. Then I shouted at my dog, come here. He started to run to me and the goats too. I stay in my position behind the tree. When one of the goats was close to me, I jumped and I caught its leg. But then the goat kicked me with its second leg in my nose. It hurt a lot. I let the goat go, and the goat was soon gone. We were not successful. This was not a good way to catch a goat. We had to do it differently. I told my dog, let's go home. I need some rest. I worked on my fence from January to March. It took me a long time because I wanted to make it very strong. During this time, I found pigeon on the island. Their homes were not in the trees. They lived in holes which were in the rocks. It was easy to catch them. Their meat was great. I could also cook and eat their eggs. When I worked on my fence, I found a small bag. I remembered corn in the bag, but now there were only some leaves and dust in the bag. I took the bag outside my camp. I emptied the bag because I needed it for the gunpowder. This happened shortly before the rains. A month later, I found a few green leaves in that place. It was young corn. Words could not express how happy I was. I had corn on the island. It was fantastic. I could bake bread in the future. Sometimes happened on March 16th. It was inside my cave when pieces of earth started to fall from the ceiling. I was scared. I did not want my work to be destroyed. I ran outside the cave. I noticed that the ground started to shake everywhere. It was an earthquake. I was shocked and scared. Some big stones fell from the hill, but I was lucky they did not hit my tent. The earthquake was finished soon, but I was afraid to go inside. I sat on the ground in front of my tent. I started to think maybe it was better not to sleep in the cave. It was not very safe in case another earthquake came. But I did not want to sleep in the tent, so I decided to make a house instead of the tent. I wanted to use the cave only as a cellar. The next day, I started to build the house. It was in April. It took me 3 months to build the house, but I was happy with my new home. I was ill in the last week of July. I had a temperature. I could not get out of the bed. I was very weak. I could do nothing in that state. I had crazy dreams. The dreams were not very logical, but for me, they were real when I had these dreams. Chapter 13. Dream. One of my dreams was really crazy. I was in pub. The pub was on my island. I wanted to drink some rum, but the waitress was very lazy. She sat at the bar. She did nothing. I did not like it. I was angry, but I waited. Then my wife came to the pub. She gave me a piece of paper with some text. It was a message from her father. He wrote, "Come home, you have to work on the plantation." But I did not want to go home. I went to the kitchen in the pub. There was my mother in the kitchen. She prepared some sticks. She also cooked soup. I tasted the soup. It tasted fantastic. Then two English men came to the pub. They wanted to sell gunpowder. One man looked like a gentleman, but the second man was horrible. I told the horrible man, "I am sorry, I did not need your gunpowder. I have a lot of gunpowder in my camp." "What did you say?" said the horrible man. "Our gunpowder is not good for you. This is the reason why we are here. We travel from the London. You have to buy our gunpowder." I said, "Thank you, I don't want." The man was really angry. Our conversation was not good. He said some horrible things about me. I said some horrible things about him. The conversation got to the point when he wanted to kill me. He took his gun. I started to run away. He shot at me. Then I woke up. 1 week later, I felt better, but I still needed to relax. I needed to sleep a lot. In August, I was okay again. I still felt a little weak. I knew that I needed to do some physical exercise. The next 10 days, I walked about around the island. This exercise made me feel better. When I felt strong again, I decided to explore the whole island. I found a new interesting part of the island. It was valley with a lake. The valley was in the central part of the island. I found melons and grapes there. The melons was very sweet. There was also apples, orange and lemons in this valley. I wanted to take some fruits home, but I needed a big bag. I don't have a big bag with me. I collected some fruit. I put the fruit in one place. I returned to my cave. I took a big bag for the fruit. When I was back, I saw that my fruit was destroyed. Some fruit was eaten. Some fruit was broken. I thought that some wild animals ate the fruit. Still, I liked the fruit valley. The nature was beautiful there. I wanted to live there. I thought, I can move here, but the beach is far from this place. I have to be close to the beach because I need to see a ship which can save me. Chapter 14, House. I did not move to the fruit valley, but I decided to build another house there. I started to visit the valley more often. Step by step, I was building a house here there. The house was small. There was a double fence around it. The house was protected like a castle. Again, I used a ladder to go in and out, but I had also stair on the inside of the fence. I used stair on the inside and I used ladder on the outside. This activity took me the whole of August and the beginning of September, but I enjoy it a lot. The Fruit Valley gave me so much energy. I felt so healthy and strong there. Sometimes, when I was in the valley at night, I watched the moon and the star. I thought about my life. I thought about my family in England. I knew that they could see the same moon, they could see the same stars. but we could not be together. I thought about my family very often. I wished the best for them. I also thought about all the people who could see the moon. I imagined the places where they lived. I felt connected with all the people. Sometimes I felt connected with the whole universe. I also thought about God. I had some question for God. I asked him, why am I on this island? What is the reason for it? Why am I still alive when my friends are dead? I did not have answer to many of these questions, but I trusted God. I believed that He knew what He was doing. Then the rainy season started. The rainy season continued until the middle of October. This was my first year on the Iceland. When the rain ended, I returned to my valley house. I saw that the fence was all green. New leaves were growing everywhere. This was not only beautiful, it was also useful because my house was hidden. It was really hard to see the house. The, the leaves created shadow. It was very nice to stay there. I decided to make a fence from the same wood around my first house too. When the rainy season was finished, I put my corn seeds into the ground. I was afraid that something bad could happen. I only used half of the seeds. This was a good idea because unfortunately none of these seeds grew up. I put the second half of the seed into the ground before the next rainy season. This time they grew up all right. I could say that I had a little farm on the island. How could see that the season on the island were different from England? They, there were no spring, summer, autumn, and winter on the island, but there were two rainy and two dry seasons. With this information, I could now plan where to put seeds into the ground. Basket, chapter 15. I started to make longer and longer trips around the island. Soon I realized that I needed a basket for these trips. When a basket, I could carry more food. When I made my trips around the island, I could also carry more food from the fruit valley. I cut branches from the same tree which I used to my fences. I dried these branches. I used these branches to make the basket. When I finished the basket, I decided to make a longer trip around the island. I went through the valley with my second house. After the valley, I found some grass fields. They were very flat. They had a lot of flowers. They smelled so good. A lot of insects were flying around these flowers. I saw some big butterflies. Their wings were 10 meters centimeter wide. There were small trees around these fields. I found nuts on these trees. These nuts were different from nuts in England. They had a different shape. They were also sweeter than nuts in England. I also discovered some new animals on the side of the island. There were many parrots, rabbits, and grey cats there. I even caught one parrot. I took the parrot with me. There were many colors on its body. I saw red, green, purple, orange, blue, pink, and yellow. There were also a lot of turtles and other birds there. This part of the island was nicer. There was more food in this part, but I did not want to move. My dog caught a young goat on the way back. I saved the goat. I took the goat with me. I wanted to keep goats. Now I had another chance. I left the goat in my valley home. First, I wanted to prepare some space for the goat in my first home. I was so tired from the trip that I was relaxing the whole day. I made a cage for the parrot. I brought home the goat. The goat started to calm down. I made a map of the whole island. I put these newly discovered places on the map. The time went very quickly. Soon it was September again. This was my second year on the island. I was not as sad as in the beginning. I accepted my situation. I was happy with what I had. My days were similar. I hunted in the next morning. I cooked at the noon. I was relaxing in the afternoon when the sun was the strongest, and I worked in the evening. This was my typical day. I also taught the parrot to say his name. His name was Paul. My cornfields kept me busy in the November and December. The wild goats and rabbits were eating the little plants. I did not want to lose my corn, so I quickly made a fence around the area with the seeds. I made a gate which I could open quickly in the fence. I put my dog inside the fence. He protected my corn at night. Soon the plants were tall, but another danger came. Birds started to eat the seeds. I shot some and I was watching my corn until all the birds were gone. Chapter 16. Bread. I had my first corn at the end of December. It was not lot of corn. I did not want to eat the corn. I decided to keep all the seeds. My goal was put the seed in the ground again and have more corn later. I thought I will need some pots for the seeds. I will look for clay around the island. I found some day I tried to make a pot. I had no success at the beginning. People in England made beautiful pots, but I did not know the whole process well enough to be able to make pots. However, I tried again and again. It was a long process, but after 2 months of experimenting and trying, I made two large pots. I put the pots into the round basket. I put dry grass between the basket and the pots. The dry grass and the basket protected the pots very well. I continued to make small pots. Their quality improved. I also made long but not very high pots. I put seawater in these pots when the water was gone. I had salt. One day I found a broken piece of one pot in the fire. The fire made the piece as hard as stone. It was very dead too. This gave me a good idea. I took one pot and made a fire around the pot. The pot was very hard. After a few hours, I was happy with the result. I thought I will also need a tool to make flour from seeds. I took a big piece of hard wood. For that, I made a hole in the wood. Then I took another piece of hard wood and I broke the seeds in this hole with the wood. The flour stayed on the bottom of the hole. I thought I also need something to make bread. I had an idea. I mixed the flour with water. Then I took two stones. I put the stones near the fire. When they were very hot, I put the bread between the stones. This was how I made my first bread on the island. It was during my third year on the island. The bread was not perfect, but I liked it a lot. It was my first bread after a long time. I thought about traveling around the island by sea. I thought that it was possible to make a canoe from a big tree. I found one big tree. I cut the tree and I started to make a hole in it. One day, when I was working on the canoe, I realized that I did not know how to move it from the forest to the beach. I tried to everything to move the canoe. I even thought about digging a channel, but it was all useless. There was a hill between the forest and the beach. I was really sad that I had to leave the canoe in the forest. My days of work were lost. I did not believe that I could make such a mistake. I had to plan my work better next time. Chapter 4, 70 Canoe. During my fourth year on the island, my clothes were already very old. I started to use the skin of the animals. I made a cap and other clothes from the skins. They kept me cool in the strong sun and they protected me from the heavy rain. But the clothes were not enough. I also needed an umbrella. It took me some time to make the umbrella, but I was successful in the end. I was quite happy with my life on the island. I had everything what I needed for my life on the island. My life on the island continued for the next 5 years. During this time, I decided to make a new canoe. The canoe was smaller and it was easier to move. I wanted to travel around the island in it. When the canoe was finished, I put food, water, and tools in it. I was ready for the trip. I wanted to test if I could go around the island in my canoe. The trip started during my sixth year on the island on the 6th of June. The beginning of my trip was not easy for me. I was in danger when my journey started. I had to go around some rocks in the sea. When I wanted to go back to the coast, I realized that there was strong current. The current was taking me away from the island. The situation was horrible. I was scared. I thought I will die in the open sea. I did not have enough food and water for a long journey. I fought very hard against the current for 2 hours. Finally, I managed to get close to my island. I could continue my trip around the island. Now I knew that I was stronger than the currents around the island. It made me feel good. Soon I found a small river which went further inside the island, but I got nowhere because soon the river was very narrow. Stone blocked the way. I could not continue. I got off my canoe. I went to explore this part of the island. It was not far away from the part of the island. When I knew, I even found the way to my house in the valley. I was so tired from the trip that I fell asleep. I was woken up by a voice. The voice was saying my name, Robinson, where are you? Robinson, where are you? First I was scared, but then I saw my parrot Paul on the top of the fence. He knew these sentences from me, and he was saying it with the same intonation as me. I was surprised to see him here. I thought, why was not he at home? Still, I was happy to hear somebody talk to me. I left the canoe where it was and I returned home with the parrot. I did not make another such trip for a year. I stay in my house most of the time. I kept making tools and pots. I was better at making baskets. Chapter 18, Food. It was 11 years since my first movement on the island. One day I noticed that I did not have much gunpowder. It started to worry me. I needed gunpowder to kill animals. My first goat was very old. It was too late to try to find a meal for her. I wanted meat, but I did not have the heart to kill her. One day, she died a natural death. I thought, with less gunpowder, I will have to find another way to get meat. I will make some trapped. Tomorrow I will start to make the trap. I was not successful at the beginning, but then I caught their three young goats. They were one male and two females. One male and two females. I took the goat home with me. I kept the goat inside a small area with a fence around it. But it was too small for three goats. I made a fence for them around a big area. It took me 3 months to build this fence. But the area was very nice. There was a lot of grass and water for them. After some time, the young goats was very calm. Soon they ate out of my hand. In 2 years, I had 12 goats inside my fence, and in 3 years, I had more than 20 goats. I had a lot of milk and meat thanks to this. I experimented a few times. I was able to make cheese and butter. My table was full now and I had a lot of animals around me. I had my old dogs, goats, and Paul, my parrot. The only thing which I still missed was somebody for a conversation. One day I went to the part of the sea where the strong current was. On the way there, I thought about how Stranger looked. I had a big head, a short jacket, and short trousers. They were all made from animal skin. I did not have socks or shoes, but I put some goat skin around my feet. I had two belts. One belt was for the gun and knife, and one of belt for the gunpowder. I also carried a basket on my back and umbrella above my head. My beard was very long. I realized that life on the island made me a different person. One day I was walking on the beach. I was going to check my canoe. Then I saw something surprise. I saw a mark of a human foot on the sand. I looked around, but I did not see anybody. I was scared. I ran back to my house. I was so scared that it was difficult to sleep at night. I started to think maybe it was all just my imaginations. Or maybe it was the mark of my own foot and it was stupid to be scared. This thought made me feel better. I left my house and I went to see the mark in the island again. Chapter 9, Cannibals. Cannibals. When I came to the mark of the foot, I saw that it was much bigger than the size of my foot. It was impossible that it was my foot. I was scared again. I started to panic. I thought I will destroy my cornfield and my valley house. I had to hide my activity. I was so afraid I could. Maybe it was their first visit here. Maybe the day would not come again. I felt better after these thoughts, but still I wanted to be safe. During the following month, I made another fence around my house. I made holes in the fence through which I could easily fire guns if I was attacked. Now I had a house which was very well protected. Nobody could come easily near me. I also worried about my goats. I divided the animals into two groups. I built a small fence in another part of the island. I put one group of the goats there. It took me a lot of time, but my animals were safe. It was the 16th year of my life on the island when something very sad happened. My dog died. I was crying for 3 days. I went to my goat and told them how sad I was. They did not understand my word, but I felt that they understood me. They felt my emotion. They were unusually calm and quiet. It was now 2 years after the foot in the sand on the beach. One day, when I was walking on the beach, I thought that I saw a canoe far in the sea. I was not sure. So I just continued my walk. Then I saw a thing which shocked me. The beach was full of parts of human bodies. Heads, hands, feet, finger, and teeth were everywhere. There was a black place for after a fire. I was angry and scared at the same time. They were here again, I thought. I could not look at this horrible scene for a long time. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach. I went back home. I thought about what to do. I decided not to go out to sea with my canoe because I had no chance against a group of cannibals in the open sea. I also decided not to use guns because the sounds of guns was very loud, but I always had guns with me for protection. I started to think that maybe in the future I could kill some of the cannibals and save their prisoner. I started to look for a place near the beach where I could hide and prepare for the attack. Then I changed my opinion. I thought that it was not reasonable to fight the cannibals. I did not know these people. They did not attack me. Maybe it was not good to attack them. Finally, I stopped the preparation and I started to act only if they attacked me first. Chapter 20 Cave. I was hiding my activity on the island. As much as possible, I was very careful. I tried not to be loud. I was worried when I made a fire. But I needed fire because I needed to cook. So when I made a fire, I tried to make a little smoke as possible. Smoke could go very high and it could be a seen from a distance. Once I discovered a small cave in the forest near the beach. I went inside, but when my eyes were okay with the dark, I saw two eyes which were looking at me. I jumped outside. I was scared to death. I waited, but nothing happened. I went slowly to the beginning of the cave and I listened. I heard something. It sounded as if there was somebody injured inside. I took my gun and entered the cave slowly. When my eyes could see again, I discovered an old goat. It was dying in the cave. I returned to the cave the next day. I found that goat was dead. I looked around the place and I saw that it was very safe. I thought it will be a good place near the beach where I could hide. I brought some of my guns and some gunpowder there. It was 23 years since my first movement on the island. I was living comfortably now and I had many animals around me. Pauls was repeating my name and some other words very nicely. I had two more parrots and I taught the parrot to say my name. I had more than 30 goats. It was the last month of my 23rd year on the island. I was walking to my field early one morning when I saw fire on the beach. I immediately returned to my house and I prepared all my guns. I took my telescope and I went close to the beach. I hit myself. I was what was happening on the beach. I saw nine naked people. They had two canoes. It looked like that they were waiting for the high tide. When they left, I went to the beach. The beach was full of blood and bones again. This made me angry. I will kill as many of the cannibals as possible next time when I see them. I thought, but they did not return for a long time. One day in the evening, after a big storm, something happened which disturbed me. I heard the sound of a gun at sea. I got out my house and I saw a light which was coming from the sea. A second shot followed. I thought that it was coming from a ship in danger which was asking for help. It, I took a lot of dry wood. I ran to the beach when I made a big fire. They probably saw the fire because they fired again. I thought I will speak to somebody tonight. This is great. I kept the fire until midnight, but nobody came to my beach. It was strange. It was something what I could not understand. Maybe in the morning I will know more, I thought. Chapter 21, Visitors. The next day in the morning I saw the ship. The ship stopped far from the beach. The ship looked empty. I did not understand it. I expected the people who fired the gun yesterday. I really wanted to communicate to somebody. I missed communication with real people very much. I took my canoe and I decided to go to the ship. I wanted to see if somebody survived. The ship looked Spanish and it was completely destroyed. When I got closer, I saw a dog. He was very happy to see me. I gave him bread and gave him water. He was hungry and extremely thirsty. I found nobody on the ship. What happened to the man from the ship? I thought it was very strange. I did not have an answer to this question. It was a mystery. There were many boxes with different things on the shape, but some boxes were small, some boxes were big. Many big boxes were full of bottles and with alcohol. But these boxes were too heavy. I could not take the boxes on the canoe. I found guns and gunpowders. I took them to the canoe. I also found some other useful things. I returned to the island in the evening with several small boxes on my canoe. I had some new shirts and also gold, silver, and a lot of gunpowder. The gunpowder was more important for me on the island. Gunpowder was more useful than money or gold. There was something else which I needed very much. I needed shoes. I found two pairs of shoes on board the ship. I took the shoes with me. I put all my new things in the cape. I made a 5 trips to the ship. I took everything useful for me, then I hid the canoe. Everything went back to the normal. Time went quickly. I often thought about the men from the ship and the cannibals on the beach. It was one night in March when I dreamed that two canoes with cannibals landed on the beach. One of their prisoners ran away. He came to my house. I saved him. Then he became my friend. He helped me go through the dangerous water around the island. I woke up, but the dream stayed in my mind. I realized that with someone help, it could be possible to escape from the island. Maybe I could save one of the prisoners of the cannibals. I decided to watch the beach more. I went every day around the beach for the next 2 years. I hope to see the canoes. My wish became reality. One afternoon, I saw 5 canoes with more than 30 men on the beach. I could not take so many men. I had to wait. I watched the visitor with my telescope. The visitor made a fire and they started to dance around it. I also saw two other men. They were tied. They were prisoners. The two tied men were taken to the fire after a while. One was beaten and killed. The cannibal painted their body with his blood. It was like a theater. But this was not a theater. It was real. It was horrible. But I could not do anything. There were too many cannibals. The second man waited on the side. When the cannibal did not look, the second man jumped up and he started to run away. He was running in my direction. I ran to the beach. I hid behind a tree. I saw that he was followed worldly by two cannibals. This was the right moment to save the prisoner. The man ran as fast as possible, but cannibals were closer and closer to him. Their speed was faster than his. Chapter 22, Friday. I prepared two guns. I waited behind the tree. The prisoner ran directly to my tree, but he did not see me. I did not move. Then he ran round me. I was still hidden behind the tree. When the first cannibal ran close me, I jumped from the behind the tree. He was shocked. I shot him. The second cannibal saw this. He tried to shoot an arrow at me. I had to shoot him too. The prisoner stopped when he heard the shot and he turned. He was scared. I smiled at him. I showed him that it was okay to come closer. He came to me. He went down to his knees. He put his head on the ground. Then he took my foot. He put my foot on his head. I showed him to stand up. He stood up, he looked at the dead cannibals, he went to their bodies, he looked at the holes in their bodies. He probably could not understand what happened to the cannibals. It was unbelievable to him. He took the arrows from the dead men. He took the bodies of the cannibals. He hid the bodies in the first year. Then we went into the deep forest. I took the men too many to my cave. The cave was my secret. Nobody could find us there. I gave him bread, meat, and some water. He was so tired, then he fell asleep almost immediately. I had an opportunity to look at him. I saw that he was young, slim, but very strong. I thought that he was about 25 years old. He had long black hair, dark skin, and a pleasant face. I let him sleep and I went outside. I stayed near the cave. I watched for the cannibals, but they did not look for us. 3 hours later, the man came out of the cave. He showed me how happy he was. He was alive and safe. I started speaking to him. I named him Friday. It was Friday when I saved him his life. I told him my name and I taught him yes and no. We stayed in the cave that night. The next day, we went on top of the hill. I saw through my telescope that the canoes were gone. We were alone on the island. We went carefully to the beach. First, we went to the place where we hid the bodies of the dead cannibals. When we found the bodies, Friday wanted to eat the cannibals. I was angry. I showed to Friday that it was not good to eat them. Here I understood that Friday was also a cannibal. We buried the cannibals, then we walked to the beach. When we saw was horrible. There were human bones around was all around. Then sand was red with blood. I asked Friday to collect all the bodies part. I prepared a big fire. I decided to burn the body part in the fire. We went to my house. I made a little tent for a Friday between the two fences which were around my house. I took all these weapons away. I wanted to feel safe. After a while, I realized that I did not have to do it. Friday was a very good and honest man. He was like a child to me. I was like a father to him. In many situations later, he showed me that he was willing to give his life for me. I was very happy to have Friday on the island. I began teaching him everything when he needed to know about life like a European. First, I taught him some new words. I started with hi, hello, bye, thank you. It was not easy at the beginning, but I was patient because I was happy that I could speak to somebody.